Hi everyone, Kim Coco here. Welcome to today's Restorative Yoga Sequence, where we're going to take a mini vacation from your everyday life. Whether you're right in the same household but in a different room, or you're miles and miles away from something routine or habitual. I'm doing this because I just recently returned from a yoga retreat in Costa Rica where I had the privilege of stepping out of my life, my regular routine, for days on end. And in doing so, I gained such a broader perspective of my life, who I am, what I want, where I'm going, what's really most valuable of my time and attention and my energy. And you can do the same right here on your yoga mat, right now. You can step back, detach from those little identity triggers that pull you back in to maybe something of the past, maybe a distraction. And when you take time on your mat and you just breathe right here, you can gain that perspective also. You can remember and recognize what's most valuable to you. And in this space that you create, you can allow that clarity to come to you. And you don't have to hop on a plane and fly thousands of miles away just to make that happen. So for this practice, I highly recommend you grab 2 blocks, a bolster if you have it, even a blanket, and a couple rolled up blankets or towels will work as well. You just want to feel incredibly supported, incredibly grounded as we go through this practice. So go ahead and start on your back. Make sure you have everything handy and close by. And we're going to start in a bent knee shavasana, which will help you just find a nice sense of ease as you breathe here. So take a moment, and I highly recommend you let your hands rest half on the lower ribs and half on the soft part of your belly. And you can keep the knees hip distance apart. You can drop them together if that feels more comfortable. As long as you can feel the low back release, shoulders relax, soles of the feet just lightly touching your mat. And then you can turn your attention to the softness in the palms of the hands, all the way out to the fingers. And observe how the gentle inflow and outflow of the breath start to draw you inward. How the new sensations with the breath, the connection to the body, the material of your clothing, start to more deeply connect you to the present moment. And as you breathe effortlessly here, just notice how you don't have to do anything at first. In fact, we won't do much at all today. Really highlighting how this sense of ease can really work to your favor when you're on your mat, when you're on vacation, and in the multiple aspects of your life. So start by deepening your breath here, counting as you inhale, feeling the lungs expand to the side, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and pause. Exhaling, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, using Samavriti to ground us. Inhaling, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, notice the lungs, ribs expanded. Exhaling, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and pause, notice the narrowness of the torso. And then repeat that process, counting silently to yourself as you start to find this symmetry in your breath. Take 2 more rounds just like that. And then slowly walk your feet maybe a little closer to your heels. Let your hands rest by your side. Before we take really any more movement, set any intention you have for your practice. An intention being simply a statement of what you want. Clarity, freedom, expansion, ease, even relaxation, freedom in the body. And then we'll allow the breath and the focus and the movement through the remainder of the class to only amplify and highlight that thought. So as you're ready, slowly draw your knee in toward your chest and feel the low back gently draw toward your mat. Maybe take the right ankle in a couple circles in one direction, followed by the other direction. And then taking that ankle circle, now holding onto the knee or even letting go of the knee, just starting to move the hip joint, lubricating the ball of the femur, the head of the femur in the hip socket here. Switching directions. So really just starting with a little bit of gentle movement before we settle into more stillness. Again, you can hold on to the knee, you can straighten the leg if you want. Otherwise, from here, draw the knee back in and then extend your right leg toward the ceiling. And again, you can point and flex the foot and notice where sensations get more intense in the body. Or there might be areas of tension. And then slowly draw the heel up toward the ceiling, the ball mound of the foot toward the face, feeling lengthen the whole back side of this right leg. You can use a strap if you do have one, or hold on to anywhere behind your right leg that you can comfortably. And notice if just by shifting the body some, did the breath alter as well. See if you can stay with that nice samavriti, even length in and even length back out. At the end of your next exhale, slowly draw the right knee in toward the chest. And we're going to come into a reclined figure 4 shape. Use my fantastic yoga toes here to go ahead and place the block underneath my left foot, because you can draw the left knee in toward the chest and you can help make this stretch more intense. But ideally, I just want to create a nice level of opening. The block underneath my left foot helps give me some support while also allowing the outer hip to create some space, externally rotating at the right thigh bone, right hip joint. And I can take my right hand and just create a little kickstand to help open up. So we're going to be here for a couple more rounds of breath, probably about a minute total. So imagine taking 6 slow rounds of breath and keeping that right foot lightly flexed to help protect the right knee. And notice that whether the left foot is on the floor, a block, hovering in the air, that you're able to soften in somewhere. Feel the back rim of the pelvis even in the weight distribution right to left. Feel the back of the shoulder blades gently resting on your mat. And even in the tongue resting lightly in your mouth. So as we start to move into some shapes, we tend to identify so strongly with the shape. We want to perform well in the shape, even if it's something simple. See if you can detach your expectation of what the pose should look like or be like or what you've done in the past, and really allow it to just be what it is right now. Allow yourself to be who you are right now. And then take another deep breath in. Exhale it all back out. And then slowly we're going to place the left foot on the floor. Move your block over if you need to. And get up to do so, or you can get creative with your feet. We're going to cross the right knee directly over the left this time for our spinal twist. Shift your hips over to the right an inch or two and simply drop your knees over to the left. And go ahead and take a nice wide position with your arms. Let the right shoulder get heavier and drop toward the mat if it's not already touching it. And then we're going to breathe here for a few cycles of breath as well. We're going to start to open up around the heart with the breath. So take notice of what your count was previously in Samavriti. And we're going to lengthen the breath in to invite more energy into the body. So if you're counting 4 and 4 previously, now we're going to lengthen the breath in. So start by counting in 2, 3, 4. See if you can go another breath in 5, maybe even a count to 6, and then exhale, counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're lengthening the inhale, keeping the exhale the same. So count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. So continue with that rhythm of breath, noticing that it might be a little more challenging to inhale in this slightly twisted position. That's okay. We're kind of using the wringing out of the spine as a filter, just to let go of anything we don't need. Letting the breath out remain the same, reminding us that no effort is needed to change and really let go. You can do so powerfully just by being here and using your attention on the rhythm of the breath. With every exhale, see if you can still feel the whole right side of the body getting heavier, the right shoulder. Maybe as you tilt your gaze to the right, there's the hips heavy and grounded. Notice which parts of your feet touch the ground, which parts of your leg touch the block or the floor. And can you allow those body parts to melt even more steadily into your mat with every exhale? Allowing a sense of lightness and freshness and ease as you keep that longer rhythm of breath in. On your next inhale, take it all the way to the top of the breath. Exhale it back out. Nice, slow, measured time. As your breath returns to a natural, effortless rhythm, come back to center. Take your right knee back into your chest one more time. And you have the option just to take your right knee over toward the right shoulder, opening up the hip slightly, or you can reach the outer edge of the right foot and take a half happy baby here. If you want to take this a little further, maybe you allow the left knee to drop out to the left side, almost like a Supta Baddha Konasana. So you have your right leg and half happy baby, or just knee over to the right side, and the left knee drops open to the left. And take a couple rounds of breath here. Again, no specific intention in doing so, other than finding these nooks and crannies. Just like you did venture out in the world, seeing somewhere new, find that same sense of curiosity and wonder as you approach and open the body. Finish your next exhale. Slowly draw the left knee back to center, the right knee back to center. Place both soles of the feet to the ground, and then just windshield wiper the knees a little bit side to side, if that feels okay. You might even extend the legs out and kind of do like a flailing bug position, if that feels good to move the legs, not just the hips. And then actually stretch out momentarily into Shavasana. And notice the difference just a few movements make in the right side of the body versus the left side of the body. Appreciating how you focus on symmetry and how you want to give love to both sides of the body evenly. As you're ready, draw both knees back toward the ceiling, soles of the feet to the ground, and hug the left knee in toward your chest. Taking a moment for a couple circles of that left ankle in both directions. And then taking those movements down to the hip, making circles. Again, you can hold on to the knee the whole time or let go. Making those circles as big or as small as you'd like. Just making sure, again, you go in both directions here. And then as you draw the left knee back in, slowly extend the left leg up toward the ceiling, grabbing on wherever you can, and start to point and flex the foot. Observing the stretch at the top of the foot, the sole of the foot, maybe all the way down to the calf. Maybe you experience it in the hamstring just by putting your leg up. Pausing there to reach the heel high, flex the toes back toward the face. Taking a few cycles of effortless breath in this new shape. Knowing that this type of change doesn't really press any buttons, it doesn't send you through the roof in uncertainty. How you're really just priming the pump, starting to set these neurological pathways so that when you experience change off the mat, you can stay with this peaceful sense of serenity just the same. Hug the left knee in, externally rotate the left leg. We're taking reclined figure 4 on the second side. So set yourself up the same way you did before, whether that right foot's on the ground, on a block, or you're hugging it in toward your chest. Just make sure you're helping that left leg externally rotate, move away from your torso, keeping that left foot flexed. Left outer arm or hand can be a kickstand. And you can find a relatively even rhythm of breath to sustain this posture here. Take another cycle of breath here in this pose. Maybe 2 if you want to linger here a bit longer. And then after your next exhale, slowly release. Right foot to the floor, grab your prop if you need to, or crossing left knee directly over right. Shift your hips an inch or 2 to the left, and then drop your knees over to the right hand side. Just careful of your surroundings. And then find this nice gentle twist on the second side. Feel the left shoulder, left arm get heavy. Find an arm position that was similar to before, or at least symmetrical. Let the back of the head rest down. And just like we did before, so we're going to keep that same ringing out potential. We're going to use the breath, inhaling to a count of 5 or 6, exhaling to a count of 4. So just notice that you can sip in the air deliberately, and you can exhale purposefully. And you don't have to change much at the moment to start increasing that flow of energy into every cell of the body. In fact, sometimes the less you do, the better. You don't create any resistance. As you breathe here, just notice the sounds around you. So the breath will be sustained and your counting will be sustained. But what else do you hear in your environment? In vacation time, you hear new sounds. Like in Costa Rica, we heard the howler monkeys and the birds and even the frogs. So as I return to my familiar environment, I actually hear new birds in my neighborhood. Ones that were likely present before, but I just didn't have the bandwidth to perceive them. So as your breath count is sustained, allow the sensation of your hearing to grow louder, to grow stronger. And what do you observe that's new as a sound in your environment? Just take a few more cycles of breath here. Allowing new energy and auditory sensations to sink in a little more with each out breath. Each out breath, a little surrender of your need to control exactly how those new ideas and sensations and thoughts take shape in your experience. And then as you inhale next, slowly unroll to center, hugging the left knee in toward the chest. And then you can stay there, taking the left knee off to the side, or just grab for the outer edge of the left foot for a half happy baby. Maybe even taking that right knee off to the side like a Supta Baddha Konasana. And notice how the weight of the pelvis shifts here. Ideally, you'd like to have an even weight to right to left. As you become exposed just a touch more to new sensations in the body, to space being created, as you continually walk this fine line of balance, strength, and openness. Take one more cycle of breath here. Back to an even, effortless breath as you either take both soles of the feet back to the floor and windshield wiper the knees, or move the knees and legs around in space, just saying hello after being in a little bit more stillness. And then return back to a Shavasana here for just a moment to check in. See what you've created already. Bring your intention for being here back to the forefront of your mind. Gathering that intention as you draw your knees to your chest. Go ahead and rock over onto the left side of your body for just a moment, and then make your way up to seated so you can grab a couple more props, because we're going to move into a Supta Baddha Konasana supported. So you have options. You can place the bolster long ways on your mat, parallel, long edge to long edge, or you can choose to take a block and place it underneath the bolster just to give a little extra height and open up the heart. That can feel really nice. And then we're going to take the low ribs, or even the low back just above the pelvis here, so you're comfortable with the space. Now, I have sacrificed one of my blocks for a prop underneath my bolster. So I'm going to take my blanket underneath my other knee, just so I'm supported evenly as I move into a reclined bound angle with a nice juicy sense of support symmetrically here. So if that feels comfortable to you, find a place where you can stay. If you're flatter on the ground, you can have blocks under your knees and even take a roll behind the neck with your blanket, a nice little prop from behind the head. And take your hands back to the ribs just for a moment to allow the sensation between the palms of the hands and the fingers to increase just by feeling the texture of your shirt again. Aware of the ribs expanding, allowing in more breath. Noticing the space between the ribs just effortlessly diminish as the breath moves out of the body. Noticing that accordion-like motion in and out, open and closed with the ribs. As you let your hands rest back by your side, further away to keep more space around the ribs, or closer in by your side if that's more comfortable simply for your arms. Allowing the mind to focus on the fluidity of the breath, this opening and closing around the ribs. How sometimes we feel a sense of expansion as we view our world, and sometimes we feel just a natural constriction and need to turn inward, either just to protect ourselves or to recover or to gather our thoughts, gain more energy. And those times we're naturally willing to open and expose ourselves and be vulnerable and courageous and let ourselves step out into the world, reveal our ideas to others, embark on adventures together. So as you rest here in Supta Baddha Konasana, notice how both take shape with the breath. There's a seed of both in each cycle of breath. And there doesn't have to be a right or a wrong, or an on or an off in how you approach this off of the mat. Let there be a sense of ease and contentment as you experience it here first. Allowing your attention to maintain focus just on the sides of the ribs, even the back of the ribs as it presses lightly into your bolster. And breathe effortlessly, no particular rhythm here. Take a few more cycles of breath here. As you're ready, maybe stretch your arms all the way up overhead. Stretch your legs out long, extend through the whole body. And then take the soles of the feet back to the floor. Turn to one side so you can press yourself back to seated. We're just going to stay facing the same direction. And we're going to take Baddha Konasana seated now. And so you might want something underneath the hips as you do this. So you might want to sit on your blanket, you might want to sit on a rolled towel or two. And so just something to prop yourself up a little bit. If you want supported Baddha Konasana with blocks under the knees, you can take that as well. Again, just think about what you do on vacation. You pamper yourself. You take the time. You're not in a hurry, so you could set yourself up for support, for a nice ease and enjoyable experience. And before we really settle in, maybe take a couple spinal circles here just to offset the stillness with some movement. Make sure you take your barrel rolls in the opposite direction if you're doing something like that. Even a couple cat-cows might feel good here. But as you come back to neutral, so you can feel the pelvis tilting forward. Otherwise, prop yourself up higher if you can't. And then keeping a nice long spine, start to walk your hands out a little or a lot. And then prop yourself up as you need to for your head and neck. In which case I can use my bolster again. And you might be able to prop your bolster up higher, grab extra blocks, do whatever it takes so that you can feel comfortable here. And using your mind's eye, start to scan from the soles of the feet. Look for sensations that are new in the moment. Notice any pressure on the outer edges of the feet as they press into the mat. Observe where your legs meet the texture of your clothing, of your pants, where your arms might be brushing against that same material to hold you up. Take note of where the legs touch the ground or the props beneath you, behind the legs, the knees, the quadriceps. Become aware of any sensations even behind the creases of the knees. Look for a sensation of broadening across the inner thighs. A heaviness of the sitting bones. Maybe even back out of your Supta Baddha Konasana for a moment to observe the length in the low back as you sit nice and tall. And then allow that length and space to spread as you fold back into your Baddha Konasana. Allowing your mind's eye to work its way up the spine. Taking an inventory of where you observe space. Being curious about how the shoulders still drop away from the ears without much effort. And then take that inner focus out to the underside of the armpits. Any sensations as your back and arms make contact with the material of your shirt or the air around you. And without moving your hands, notice which part of your hands are touching the floor and where there's space. And instead of having to work to do this observing and thinking, allow the forehead to get heavier on whatever prop it's rested against. And then start that body scan all over again. Observing what changes as you linger here for a few more minutes. No need to change the breath pattern. No need to consciously control it in any way. Just be. And be curious. Take another cycle of breath here. Allowing that deeper breath to notice where your mind was and bring it back to the moment. And allow the following in-breath to slowly bring you back up to center. Move your props aside and just go ahead and shake out the legs momentarily. We'll take one more seated posture here, Paschimottanasana. So you can stay on your props or just slightly scoot forward, tilting the pelvis back. Tilting the pelvis forward, sitting the blanket back behind you. And then decide what props you're going to need to be here. Taking Dandasana for a moment to sit tall, shoulder blades down the back, draw the front ribs in and lengthen the spine. And then again, prop your hips up if you're unable to hinge or even stay upright, because staying upright might be the posture for you, in which case you can rest your head gently, or you can slowly start to fold forward, hinging at the hips, grabbing any props you need to prop yourself up appropriately. We're going to just be here for about 2 minutes, so not too much longer, but just see if you can feel the hip creases get deeper, the low back lengthen, feel space in the back side of the body, all the way from the soles of the feet through the calves, hamstrings, back of the head, neck, as the fascial line still runs all the way to the crown of the head. So if you tilt the head and drop it down, you might notice a shift in where you feel sensation, and that's okay. Just check in here, making sure you're comfortable with where you're at, and you can find a sense of ease. Finding that Sama Vritti from the beginning of your practice. You might even notice it's easier to take deeper cycles of breath in. And that same length breath back out. Imagine this like a luxurious afternoon nap that you might take on vacation because you have all the time in the world just to relax and rest. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. No timetables to keep. Then use your following inhale to come back up. We're going to go ahead and set your props up from here into a side body lengthener. So we're going to bend the knees and we're going to take them over to the left side of your mat. We're going to take your bolster and we're going to take the long edge of the bolster parallel to the short edge of the mat now. And you might need to scoot down so that you have some space overhead. Prop. Move your blanket away. You likely won't need your blanket now. If you notice your block is too intense, then by all means you can swap out the block for your blanket. Otherwise, we're going to take the bolster just next to the outer left hip. And you can play with the leg position. If you want to move more into deer to intensify it for the hips, you can, or just let the right knee rest somewhere on the left calf. And we're going to lengthen the whole left side of the body so it drapes over your bolster and the left shoulder is on the opposite side of the bolster. And then from here, this is where it gets kind of interesting. You can prop yourself up as you need to so that you have a nice pillow for your head and neck. Again, you might want the blanket to make that a little bit softer. We're going to start here. So in this side stretch, now we're in this lateral bend here. We're going to take the right arm, flip the palm toward the wall overhead or whatever's overhead in your space, and let that right arm drape. So now we're really creating openness in the whole right side of the body. And you might even just start to notice that with your breath, just by moving the arm overhead. If that's too intense, by all means rest the right arm by your side. But if you can stay, keep your right arm overhead, and we're going to breathe here for a few minutes. And then see here if you can slow down the breath again for Vishamhavriti, but only this time lengthening the breath out. So breathe in to your 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Counting into 4 at your own pace. Exhaling to a count of 5 or 6. Notice that if you're trying to push the breath back out, maybe you soften And you lower the count on the breath in so that you can focus more on the breath out and letting go. It might seem easier to breathe in here just on account of the space we're creating physically. But can you remove any impediments that might prevent that prana from moving freely by focusing on the breath back out? Observing how even in some different environments, say on vacation or even in this posture, you're stretched in new ways. You're called to approach the moment, the situation, the challenge in new ways. And how just by being here and breathing consciously, you're doing the exact same thing. Creating resilience, a multidimensional view of any situation, and the ability to creatively find a solution no matter what. Take another deep breath in here. Exhale, let it go. Slowly start to roll onto your back. And see if you can just keep the bolster under your low back for a minute here. So you're kind of in a back bend. Very supported back bend. And just stay where your arms are comfortable. Depending on the size of your bolster or your blankets underneath your hips, you may or may not enjoy being here. So just make sure you're staying out of pain. And all you're going to do from here is you're going to roll onto your right side, or take the same position on the second side. I'm going to turn so you can see my face instead of my back side. But you have to only roll over to your right to get right into the second side. Find your leg position that's going to work. Take the bolster right up against your hips. It should already be there. Drape your right side of the body over the bolster so that you have room for your right arm to drape between the bolster and your block. Set yourself up for success and comfort here so you're not going to need to fidget. And same options apply. Left arm can stay on your hip or it can reach up and overhead and over to whatever space is above your head at this time. I'd like to stay with a longer breath out here. So just observe what that was for you and how that elongated breath out can translate into more freedom in the posture, sense of ease in the breath. And even just an appreciation of your ability to be here right now. Able to take a luxurious break from whatever is going on. Step back from the busyness and allow new ideas and insights to pop into your mind. Taking a little mental note as they do, knowing that you can get to them when your practice is over. Simply keep allowing the out breath to remain longer than your in breath. 2 more cycles of breath. And then slowly set your props aside underneath your head and neck. We're going to go ahead and take supported bridge pose. So you might feel comfortable just rolling onto your back and letting the bolster sink underneath your hips. Kind of shimmy on down. Set yourself up. Careful of any props next to you. Or in my case, a microphone. So as carefully as you can, start to shimmy down with your bolster. So the bolster then rests underneath the hips comfortably. And pause here, noticing the symmetry of the pose once again. The pelvis resting so heavily on your bolster. Just make sure the low back is off of the bolster so it can drape down and have a little traction as you rest here. And you might even decide that you want to drop the knees toward one another if that feels more comfortable. We're just going to be here for about 2 minutes, letting this open-hearted pose help you absorb the changes just made from the length on the sides of the body. How the experience in something new can greatly heighten your appreciation, not just for your surroundings, but for yourself, for your entire body. That helps you move and explore. And an appreciation for your own unique outlook on life and the many, many gifts that you offer and share with those around you. Stay here longer if you'd like. Or just gently lift your hips and scoot your bolster down so that your low back can rest on the mat. And the bolster can serve as some support underneath your legs for Shavasana. And then pause, just making sure you're comfortable here. Take a couple rounds of a split part Viloma just to seal in the practice, the energy that you've created by your attention alone, by your intention alone, just by the shapes you've put yourself in over the last 60 minutes. So on your next inhale, fill up the breath completely. Exhale fully. And then take half of your breath in and then pause. Sip in the other half of your breath. Pause. Notice the breath lingering at the top. And then exhale through the nose or mouth. We're going to take 2 more just like that, filling up halfway. Pause. Fill up the second half. Pause. Relax the knees, shoulders, face, and let it all go. Last time, inhaling halfway. Pause. Allow the rest to flow in. Pause. Exhale, let your entire body melt down into your mat, your props. Your breathing to become effortless, the body simply breathing itself. Content and blessed, completely being you right here, right now. Open, spacious, creative, and perfectly aligned with the intention you've created at the beginning of your practice. You're welcome to stay a little longer if you'd like. Reserve a little more time on your mat. Before you start moving the body, simply deepen the breath again. And send that breath out to gentle movements of your fingers and your toes. You take a nice long stretch with your whole body. Careful of any space or props or furniture around you. Carefully draw your knees off the bolster, roll to one side, and make your way to seated. You can pause for a moment. As you come to a seat, bring your hands to your heart center and bow your gaze, knowing that oftentimes when you come back from a really restful time away, you're energized and eager and you're excited to get going again. So be aware of that energy. Maybe even allow it to curl up to your lips as a smile, feeling eager and excited about what's to come for the rest of your day. Knowing that you have a brand new, fresh perspective from this mini vacation on your mat. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.